A very good afternoon from a sunny Whitchurch in Shropshire. Hope everybody is having a good Wednesday so far. Yeah, I'm normally home or getting close to home at this stage in the week, but unfortunately, it's not the case, and I will be travelling from here in Whitchurch across to Wakefield later this afternoon to pick up a load to go back north once again. So a 6 day week, a busy week indeed for myself. Covered 6 countries. In fact, before I was delivering here in Whitchurch, I actually was in Welshpool in Powys. So that's only the second time I've ever been in Wales with the company. So yeah, 6 days and 6 countries in 5 days is not bad going, I don't think. So I'm finally getting the frozen veg that I picked up yesterday morning in Holland off my back, and then head over to New Cold in Wakefield to reload, hopefully. So anyway, we've got the tropical storm Nicole, 70 mile per hour system. If we click on to this system, you can see here what the National Hurricane Center is predicting. It is expected to be a hurricane through the Bahamas, and the question mark is, does it remain a hurricane as it makes landfall to the north of Fort Lauderdale in the next 24 hours or so? Certainly the GFS indicates that we've got a very strong, tightly packed area of strong winds across the southeast of Florida, and encompassing really anywhere from kind of Titusville and Daytona Beach all the way down to the Florida Keys. We're going to have some pretty nasty conditions, I think, over the next 24 to 36 hours. But interestingly enough, looking at the GFS ensemble, you can see what the modelling is indicating. We do have a significant shot of cold coming for the lower 48 over the next week or two. You can see here the Arctic air building across the northwest as I play through the loop here. This is the 5 day increments. We have got a significant shot of mid to late November cold coming for the United States. Unfortunately, a very different story at the moment across Europe. If you like cold, that is, upcoming 5 days, it is a bit of a blowtorch across pretty much all of the continent. No real cold there to speak about. And as I play through this GFS run, you notice here temperatures ease back slightly, but there's nothing, any true sign of cold coming in the next week or two here, cooling down across Turkey, as you can see. Certainly, all eyes on the temperatures over the next few days here. Looking at some potential records, by the way, as winds come up from a southwesterly direction and coming a long way from the southwest, that is, as well, from all the way back to the Azores. So you're talking probably a span of close to 2,000 miles of winds coming in at a pretty strong pace, and with despite we don't get the diurnal ups and downs in the temperature profile, between day and night, when you've got a very strong southwesterly wind. And I think as those winds cross over some of those hills in England, Wales, Scotland, and indeed Northern Ireland and the Republic, we could see areas downwind of that, seeing some exceptionally warm overnight temperatures. So these are the records, but I question the 13.9. I do recall Murlock Bay in County Down recording a low of 16.1 Celsius back in 2015. So I'm a little bit dubious about this 13.9 as a November record for Northern Ireland, but we've got 15 in Wales, 15.9 in England, and 14.5 in Scotland. These could definitely get threatened when you look at the air mass that we've got coming in. These are the 2 meter temperature anomalies, or should I say the 850 anomaly here during the early portion of Friday. Now it's going to be warm tonight. Southwesterly winds are going to increase, and the reason for that is if we look at the current overview chart, you can see the setup that we've got, an almost perfect setup indeed. Deep trough tilted all the way back into the central portion of the North Atlantic. We've got an area of high pressure over the Pyrenees here, and you see this area of low pressure right here. This frontal system, we're going to get some strong winds running along that boundary along that frontal system, and we've got this nice little warm sector tucked in behind this weather front here, arced to the north of the British Isles. So within this little section right here, that's where you're going to have some strong winds crossing over these hills. Very, very mild air from 5,000 feet all the way down to the surface. And of course, when you've got the Föhn effect or downslope compressional warming, you can see some very significant temperatures indeed during the overnight period. So over the next 36 to 48 hours, we're going to see plenty of warm air, that frontal system just staying to the west of the British Isles, thanks to that area of high pressure over the near continent. And as we go towards the second half of the weekend here, we're seeing areas of low pressure continuing to spin around the North Atlantic, but not really getting anywhere fast to the east, thanks to building pressure. You can see here eastern and northern portions of Europe here. And we're going to keep an eye on this here as these systems try to push eastwards. Does that try to push the high over Europe somewhat north? So we'll keep an eye on that, certainly. These were the temperatures this morning, 2.6 at both Loch Liscarnock and Tain. That is nearby to where I live. And that was a relatively cool morning, relatively speaking, for the time of the year. Of course, we're now into nearly the middle portion of November, so certainly 2-3 degrees is nothing to sniff at or write home about, should I say, at this time of the year. But I think these temperatures here are going to be some of the coolest we'll see in the next several days here, thanks to that setup coming up here. So gone will be the 2.6s. We may see 14-15 degrees right the way through the overnight period. Especially, I think, tomorrow night and Friday. I think that's where you're going to get the core of warmest air within the layers of the atmosphere, having significant impact on surface temperatures here. So we'll certainly keep an eye on it. These are the temperatures, by the way, for 6 o'clock on Friday morning, and these can be quite subdued. You've got widespread 12, 13, 14 degrees here, even across the board. We've got 14s over Ireland as well. But it really would not surprise me if we get some records falling. Some of these temperature records, I think, have a great chance of falling over the next couple of nights here. But looking at the North Atlantic Oscillation, there is no great change in the overall theme. We've got outliers going quite firmly positive. We've got some outliers going negative. So no real change, if I'm being honest with you. The one thing that I would say is a little bit interesting is the Arctic Oscillation is trying to go more negative than the NAO is. And again, influences potentially of the Managilian Oscillation, the tropics. Of course, we've got tropical activity at the moment, and we've also got, and I didn't actually speak about this, but look at the X here up to the central portion of the North Atlantic here. So we do have a disturbance up here, and if that was to try and lift northwards here, that could be trying to kind of drive a little bit of tropical warmth northwards here. So these are all things that we need to kind of consider, I think, over the next week to 3-week period here. So as we progress through the second half of November into the early portion of December, we need to just kind of keep an eye on the Managilian Oscillation, what's going on in the tropics. Also looking at the polar vortex as well. I haven't looked at that today, so I'll talk about that in the next couple of days. Certainly looking at, you're saying to yourself, where the heck is the cold? Because, Europe is so warm at the moment. Of course, North America is going to turn cold fairly significantly in the next wee while. By the way, this is a tweet by Marco Patagna suggesting, of course, we've got the 3-year La Nina underway at the moment here, but there is indications of the potential for an El Nino developing possibly towards next spring. And I reckon if the month of April sees the development of an El Nino, we could have something similar to 2012. So that is something that I'm kind of looking at in the longer term. And I've been harping on about this since the summertime. Could we see the change, the weather pattern during the autumn season? We have seen that taking place, but we still have a La Nina. And I think while we've still got La Nina in place, we don't get a truly wet pattern developing. But with the El Nino developing, I think we are going to see a turnaround to a wetter possible 1 to 2 year, 3 year period coming up. So we'll certainly keep an eye on that. That's for sure. Looking at where the cold is, so we've had the first -35 in parts of Canada. Rabbit Kettle, love that name, in the Northwest Territories. So that's the first 30 in British Columbia, with -30.1 at Fort Nelson. Wouldn't it be great to see those kind of temperatures if you like that sort of thing? In fact, by the way, let's not complain too much about the temperatures at the moment, because the heating bills are so high at the moment. We've been very, very fortunate when it comes to heating our homes with this mild weather at this time of the year. Let's make the most of it. Let's be grateful for the fact that we're not particularly cold at the moment here. It will come. It will change eventually. When that time frame is, we don't know, of course. And then, of course, Oymyakon, coldest inhabited place on the planet, saw -43.2 Celsius the other day. So that's the new lowest temperature of the season for the northern hemisphere, out with Greenland here. So we are seeing the cold building across other parts of the world, unfortunately not across Europe. So for the moment, anyway. So hope you enjoy the rest of your day from a sunny Shropshire. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you again hopefully tomorrow with more. Bye for now.